Hi, it's Dr. Z. This week we will learn about ANOVA. ANOVA is an acronym that stands for Analysis of Variance. This chapter introduces a new statistical test that will allow researchers to compare 3 or more separate groups. I've tried to simplify and summarize the complexity of ANOVA in this week's Nearpod lesson and lecture videos. Therefore, for this week, I recommend doing the Nearpod lesson first and then reading the textbook. So let's get started with this week's overview. By the end of this week, you'll be able to complete these district course competencies and learning objectives. For this week, please watch the module review video and view this week's activity checklist here. There are 2 sections this week. The first section is Introduction to ANOVA. Last week you learned about how an independent t-test is used to compare 2 separate or 2 independent samples. Now, what happens if we have 3 separate groups that we need to be compared? For example, let's say we have a control group, but now we have 2 treatment groups to test as well. Would you want to conduct 3 separate independent t-tests? I personally would not. So that's where ANOVA comes in to save the day. Basically, ANOVA combines multiple t-tests into a single test to reduce the probability of type 1 error. Like I said earlier, ANOVA stands for Analysis of Variance, which means we're studying how scores vary within the groups and between each group. In other words, we're interested to see if there's any variance between the 3 separate groups and if there's any variance within each individual group. Please read the designated pages in the textbook and complete the corresponding Nearpod lesson. The second section is on a one-way ANOVA, which is a specific type of ANOVA. One way refers to having 1 independent variable being tested. And in ANOVA, the independent variable is also called a factor. This section applies the logic and structure of ANOVA learned in the Nearpod lesson to learn how to conduct a one-way ANOVA. Then we will conduct a hypothesis test with a one-way ANOVA to determine if the study is statistically significant or not. Please read the designated pages in the textbook and watch the assigned videos. This week's activity is on reporting ANOVA. We will continue to strengthen the skill of thinking and writing like researchers this week. This activity will give you an opportunity to practice writing summary and interpretation statements for a hypothesis test with a one-way ANOVA. Each student will be assigned 1 sample research study to work on and share their statements with the class in discussion board number 9. The activity handout is available here and also in your course packet. You'll complete the activity handout on your own by writing the answers in the space provided on the activity handout. Let's go to our assignments this week. The first assignment is the Nearpod lesson. This Nearpod lesson will introduce the logic and structure of ANOVA, as well as how to write summary and interpretation statements. The second assignment is discussion board number 9 on ANOVA. This discussion board ties back to the activity on writing summary and interpretation statements. Question 1 asks you to reflect on the videos about Sir Ronald Fisher, after which the F ratio is named. Question 2 asks you to share your summary and interpretation statements for your assigned sample study. And question 3 is a reflection of this experience. The third assignment is problem set number 9. This problem set reviews concepts in Introduction to ANOVA and one-way ANOVA. This problem set will have you practice conducting a hypothesis test with one-way ANOVA. This week's activity will also be excellent practice for the summary and interpretation statements that you will provide in this problem set. And the last assignment. The last assignment is the chapter quiz. I will want to point out that this quiz may require simple calculations and the use of a calculator. Please make sure to complete the reading and online activities for this week's chapter before taking the quiz. And with that, my friends, you'll have successfully completed this week's module. I look forward to reviewing your awesome assignments this week.